Hello and welcome back. I'm Ellen Foley and this is Business 120. Today we take on Chapter 4, which is about the different kinds of business ownership. The simplest kind is called sole proprietorship. This is the kind of ownership framework I have for my company, which consults in marketing and communications. Sole proprietorship is usually owned by one person. It's very simple. Many large businesses began as small, struggling sole proprietorships. There are advantages and disadvantages which you might want to pay attention to because they could be coming to a test near you. It's very easy to start. You fill out a form, you give the state $99, and you're in business. There are no special taxes, it's not complicated, and you're your own boss, which I love. There are disadvantages though. The biggest is unlimited liability, which means that I'm on the line for any kind of concern or suit that someone brings against my company. Sole proprietorships are typically not terribly well funded. They have problems with expanding, which I'm facing in my own business. Here's the issue on unlimited liability. It is a legal concept that holds a business owner personally responsible for all the debts of the business. Now let's talk about partnership. The next step often for a sole proprietor is to take on a partner. I'm in the process of doing this right now with my company. You can see here the definition, which is also in your book. I'll give you a few seconds to take this in. Partnerships offer you more talent and more resources. This is the case with my company. My new partner has skills in design and other kinds of marketing that I don't have. She also has a deep connection, I should say, to a group of freelancers in the area that we can tap at any moment for a client that needs extended services. You can see that there are advantages and disadvantages of partnerships also. There's still that unlimited liability issue, but the biggest problem with partnerships is that typically the partners start to have a disagreement that cannot be resolved. That's a big problem. Let's talk now about corporations. Corporations, this may sound odd, but corporations are considered people under the law. They have the same rights that we do. They exist only on paper, however. They grab the headlines, but they are only 19% of our businesses. However, they bring in 82% of the revenues. The advantages include getting rid of that unlimited liability and giving the corporation limited liability. It's easier to raise money when you are a corporation, and you have a perpetual life. There are some disadvantages, as you see here. Again, conflict is an issue, double taxation is an issue, and the lack of confidentiality about the business can lead to leaks and gossip or media reports that harm the corporation. Stock is a characteristic of corporations that typically is not for the other kinds of business. And here are the different kinds of stock, and you will see these described in more detail in your book. The odd bullet points here are the difference between a closed corporation and an open corporation. In a closed corporation, stock is only owned by a few people. This is typically a family company. In an open corporation, stock is bought and sold on the security exchanges, the stock market, and can be bought by anyone. However, in a large corporation, they have different kinds of stock that different kinds of people own and benefit from. So we think in a corporation that the CEO is the big boss. In fact, the CEO has other stakeholders that he or she reports to. Stockholders, the board of directors is big in most companies. They have the authority to hire and fire the bosses. Then these are the officers, which is the CEO and her or his group of executives. And then they also need to have responsibilities to their employees. There are also special types of business ownership, and one of them is not-for-profit. I'm sure several of you have worked for a non-for-profit as a volunteer, and you can see here the characteristics of that kind of business. They still do have specific tax guidelines in order to receive their tax-exempt status. Corporations grow through deals called mergers and acquisition. And these definitions are pretty straightforward. However, in an acquisition, sometimes there is something called a hostile takeover, and I was part of one of those in one of the newspapers that I worked in Philadelphia, and it was a very difficult time, and eventually the company went bankrupt. So now I want to talk about a specific company that had tremendous success in terms of starting as a small business owned by one person and became a multinational corporation. And that company is Taco Bell. Taco Bell was founded by Glenn Bell, who at age 23 started a hot dog stand. That was in 1946, before I was born. He formed a partnership with a group of restaurants not long after that, and they sold franchises to raise money. Franchises are licenses that an owner of a company can sell to others who then get the benefits of having the name and the physical building, in some cases, of the successful business. We have one of these in our area that has been tremendously successful, and I bet you can all name it. It's Culver's. In Culver's, they do offer franchises. In some cases, the owner of the franchise is the owner of the building. In other cases, the owner of the franchise really rents the building. In any case, both types of franchisees send money back to Culver's every year. That's how it makes money. And that money is often booked as marketing and training. It's a significant amount of money. Well, back to Taco Bell. Taco Bell and its partnership did sell franchises, and it became a corporation in 1970. It was so successful that it sold the corporation to PepsiCo in 1978. What was a secret sauce, so to speak, for Taco Bell? It was its brand. We'll talk more about brand in the coming weeks, but brand is your emotional connection with your customers. And there were many things that Mr. Bell and his partners and his franchisees did well to connect with people. A lot of it was great customer service. They also sold a consistent product that some of you may have tried. So we're going to move on in the next chapter to other issues in the business world, chapter 5, and I will have another lecture for you. The next parts of the book talk about management and specific kinds of management, for example, human resources, which will be important to you in your lives as leaders in our community. Well, that's all for now. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.